If you want to start creating content for Instagram, truly all you need is this. But if you're like me and you're interested in continually learning new things and always improving your craft, then you might be curious about other tech that you can use to make your content even better. In today's video, I'm going to give you a tour of my content creation camera bag. Everything that I use to make content for Instagram, but also for YouTube and my podcast. Because there's a lot of overlap there. Once you get one piece of gear, you can really use it in a ton of different ways. So let's get into it. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Katie and I am here to be your guide on your journey of being a content creator. Usually I like to post about Instagram strategy, how to create content, and advice for your content creator mindset that will help you keep going in the long term. Stuff like that. So subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. Also, a heads up before anybody asks in the comments, everything that I talk about in this video is going to be linked in the description, so you can check out any of the products that I mention. Okay, yay, let's get into it for real now. So this is my camera bag. This is not at all a proper camera bag. It's in fact a Herschel backpack that I bought in 2016. But it does the job for holding most of the stuff that I need to create my content. And the thing is, nowadays I'm not doing a lot of creating out and about. Pretty much everything that I make is here in my van, and so I don't have to store everything that I use in this bag and carry it around with me. I've got places throughout the van where all these things are stored, but a lot of them do fit in this backpack. The first item on my list of gear, which I alluded to in the intro, is my phone. So I have an iPhone 12 Pro with 256 gigabytes of storage. What I love about this version of the iPhone is that there's actually 3 different camera lenses, so you can get that ultra wide look, which I love. I feel like it's really trendy right now, and it kind of gives you just more creativity and ability to capture stuff, especially when you live in a really small space like me. And it's great to have a wide angle lens. I think it's key, if you can spring for it as a creator, to get a phone with more storage, like the 256 gigabyte, because then you are just not going to struggle as much with always having to delete all of your photos and videos, because it can really add up. But so far, after having this guy for over a year, I haven't had any problems with that. But when you do have that extra storage, it does open you up to being able to, say, film long YouTube videos on your phone and not run out of storage all the time. So yeah, I use this all the time for creating Instagram stories, for shooting some of my photos for Instagram. This is truly my go-to camera when I'm out and about. So let me know if you'd be interested in seeing any videos about the apps that I use for content creation on this guy, because I do use this a lot. But in addition to my phone, I've got a couple other cameras to tell you about. This is the Sony ZV-1 or ZV-1. And this is my go-to vlogging camera, and honestly my #1 recommendation for new creators that are looking to upgrade from their phone. The reason why this is so great for people even with no camera experience at all is that it just on auto can capture really beautiful footage. You can shoot in up to 4K, and there are lots of slow-mo options as well, which we love. We love those high frame rate moments. But really why this is so amazing is that it's an affordable option and it is very small. You can fit this in a small purse or backpack, or pockets if you have big pockets. Before I had the ZV-1, I had the Sony RX100 Mark IV, and that was awesome. But the upgrade that the ZV-1 has on all the RX100 cameras is that there is an aux plug in here, like a little microphone plug. So you can see I've got this little fuzzy guy on top, and this improves the audio tremendously. So that's why this is such an awesome camera for beginner YouTubers, because a lot of affordable, smaller point-and-shoot cameras like this won't have a microphone plug in. So if you get this one, you gotta have your all-in-one YouTube setup in your hand. We'll get back to talking about microphones more in a second, so I'll just set this guy over here and show you the next camera. This is the DJI Osmo Action, and I'll be honest, I don't use this a lot for videos on this channel or even my Instagram content, but I do have a travel vlogging channel for my adventures in the van called Katie and Dan in a Van. I'll link it up here, and we do a lot of time lapses while we're driving, or if we ever go swimming or do any kind of water sports, then we've got this guy ready to go. So this is basically the DJI version of a GoPro. Like, sometimes I even just call this a GoPro because that's been pretty much the term that you use for action cameras now. But this is called an Osmo. I picked this over kind of the equivalent GoPro because I felt like it had pretty much all the same features, in some cases nicer features, and it was cheaper. You can record in 4K, there's lots of slow-mo options, pretty much anything that you'd need to get kind of cool wide angle action footage. If you're thinking of doing any kind of like travel vlogging, then this is a good option, but if you're just doing kind of sit down videos like I do on this channel, not super necessary. The next camera, which is an absolutely essential part of my content creation process, is actually one that I can't show you right now because I am filming on it. So I'll insert some B-roll clips of it, and it is a Sony A6600. This is a Sony crop sensor mirrorless camera, and it really ticks all the boxes. You can shoot in 4K, there's lots of high frame rate options so you can get slow-mo. I use this camera for shooting my more planned out editorial shots for my Instagram feed, and I also use it to shoot every single YouTube video that you see on this channel, unless it's kind of more of a vloggy style one, and then I've probably used this guy. But the nice thing about using this point and shoot Sony camera and my like bigger mirrorless camera from Sony is that the footage blends really nicely together because they have a similar color science, even though the ZV-1 has a slightly updated version of the one on the A6600, but they still look pretty much the same. Now, when I chose the A6600, I was really debating between getting this camera and one of Sony's full frame mirrorless cameras, like for example, the A7 III. The reason why I ended up going with the A6600 is because, to be totally honest with you, to make the content that I do, I really wouldn't need anything more than a phone. I could film these videos completely fine on my iPhone. The biggest challenge would just be if I want to screen record for you guys and show you what I'm doing on Instagram. It would be hard to do if I was also filming on my phone. But the reality is I don't need like a professional photographer or videographer type camera to make these kinds of videos. And obviously the A7 III was a lot more expensive, so it was harder to justify the cost of a full frame camera. For context, the A6600 costs about $1,800 US, and the A7 III is more like $2,500 US, and that's just for the camera body. Plus, when you start getting into full frame camera bodies, then you start dealing with more expensive lenses, because the E-mount lenses that are for the crop sensor cameras for Sony, they're just a lot cheaper than the full frame ones. The one trade-off is, of course, you get a more cropped look. So in order to film this shot, I need to use a 16mm lens on my crop sensor, but it really gives more like a 24mm look if I was like filming on a full frame. So especially when you're in smaller spaces, it can be kind of harder to capture everything, but I make it work. Speaking of lenses, let's talk about some of the lenses that I use on this camera. The first lens that I got with my A6600 is kind of a kit lens, but it's slightly more upgraded version of what you would normally just get with a camera. And this is the Sony 18-105 f4. This is a good lens. I use it to make pretty much all of my YouTube videos up until the last few months when I bought my 60mm lens, which I'll talk about in a second. Really great variable focal length. The only problem is it only goes to f4, so you can't always get the kind of lighting that you need. For example, right now I'm shooting at f1.6 to try to get that nice blurry background, and when it's a little bit darker, obviously you can get more light into your lens. But as a kind of just starter catch-all lens, I feel like this works really well, and as long as you can control your lighting conditions, then you'll be just fine. And then you've got one lens that covers pretty much the whole range of focal lengths you would need. I do have another lens that I bought right when I switched from Canon to Sony and I got my A6600, and that is the Sigma 30mm f1.4. I wanted to have a nice prime lens that I could use for portraits and stuff. It is f1.4, so you can definitely get all that light, that nice blurry background. And honestly, I haven't used this a ton because I kind of, at the time when I switched from Canon to Sony, was also really switching like the way I use my camera. I used to shoot photos of other people and do portrait photography a lot, and then I kind of stopped, partially because of the pandemic and stuff. But I still think this is a really great lens, and if you want to kind of get out there and do some more artistic stuff, this can be a great way to do that. And it's like a more, affordable option. And finally, I've got the Sigma 16mm f1.4, which I'm filming with right now. This has become my go-to lens because I like a wide angle look, and I live in a small ass space, so I need as wide an angle as I can get in order to shoot something that's not just like my face. Because if I was filming with this in the van, it would literally just be like my nose and eyes. It would be so close. So with these 3 lenses, I can pretty much capture anything I want. The only thing I'm really missing is something that would be more zoomed in than 105. So if I'm trying to do like nature photography of something that's like really far away, I'm not going to be able to do that. But that doesn't come up too often, if I'm honest. So with all of these, I can pretty much capture all of my typical content very well. So let's talk a little bit about microphones. First up, we've got this guy. This is a Zoom H1 recorder with this Sony lav mic that I just got off Amazon for like 20 bucks, and I record a lot of my audio for my YouTube videos with this. I will pin this lav mic somewhere under my shirt and then hide this, or not hide this so well. You might have spotted this in some of my videos, and it just allows me to record better audio. Sometimes when I'm being kind of lazy, like today, I won't use it and I'll just use a microphone on top of the camera, especially if I'm close like this. You know, it works out pretty well. But if I'm in a space where I don't have as great of audio, like there's a lot of background noise, then this can really help make it just my voice more so. Okay, so when I'm not using this lav mic, I've got a couple options. So one I have on top of this guy right now, this is the Rode Video Micro. I've been using this for years. This is an amazing, affordable option for a microphone like this. What I love about this is that it doesn't need any extra batteries, so you don't need to worry about charging it. You literally just plug it in and you are good to go. It's especially great at close range, like vlogging like this. A similar option, which I've just recently started trying out, is basically Deity's version of this, except for this one has a little upgrade. So this is the Deity D4 Duo, and it has a microphone on both sides. So you can see there's like the little fuzzy guy on both ends. If I take this off, you can see there's a microphone underneath there. And what's cool about this is that if you plug this into your vlogging camera and you are filming out this way, you still have a microphone picking up what you're saying. Or if you turn the camera around and you're filming yourself, you still have a microphone, you know, picking up what you're saying. Whereas with this guy, if I was recording like this and talking, it's not going to be picking up my voice very well. So Deity recently sent this to me and I'm still testing it out and seeing how I feel about it, but I do think this is a really cool option, especially if you're finding yourself filming out and filming yourself quite often. If you are flipping around the camera, this is a great way to capture audio no matter which way the camera is facing. This is also really affordable and it doesn't need any batteries or anything. You just plug it in and it's good to go. The final microphone that I wanted to show you is actually the one that I use for podcasting. So this is the Rode NT USB Mini that Rode sent to me probably about a year ago or so, and I've been using it to podcast with ever since. It is so convenient. It's literally just USB-C cord. I plug it directly into my MacBook and then I'm ready to start recording, and it gives me like studio quality podcast recordings. I mean, if you've listened to my podcast ever, this is the microphone that you've been listening to. It's also a nice affordable option for beginners, and it's just so sleek and so easy to use, and you really don't have to worry about any other types of recorders or anything like that. It just works. Okay, now a few accessories that I can share that kind of make this whole process a little bit easier. One thing that I'm always recommending to people is this little tripod mount. So this is just a like $13 product off Amazon. Again, I'll link it below. I use this every time I create any content for Instagram Reels or TikTok, and basically I can just screw this little mount on top of my tripod. There's like a little mounting hole right here, and then you can obviously connect it to your phone. You can put your phone in this mount, and then you're able to, you know, record your reels or whatever you need to do, and it holds it wherever you want. This is a massive upgrade from what I was doing before, which was just kind of setting my phone down on my bookshelf or whatever I could find to balance it with, and it is so cheap. It's very, very worthwhile. Speaking of tripods, I have one that I use all the time, and again, I'm using it right now to film this video. You know what? Let me just get a quick video of my setup for you so you can see what I've got going on. Don't mind me, we're in the Walmart parking lot today. That's van life, so that's what you see behind. But this is the Manfrotto tripod. Again, I'll link it below. It's super lightweight. You can kind of pack it down to almost like the size of a water bottle. Like you could fit it in a backpack. So I love it for that. And then up here, we've got my cabinet open, and I've got my Gorilla Pod and this light on top. And this is what I use to try to get the best quality video I can while I'm in the van. The light is from Apurture. Here's this little carrying case, and it is the Apurture AL-F7. It was about like $80 or $90, and basically I just power it off of like a USB power brick, the same kind of one that you can like plug your phone into or whatever. It does also take these fancy Sony batteries, but I don't have those, so I just plug it into my little power bank. You could also plug it directly into the wall if you like had a long enough cord for that. And what I love about it is you can actually change the color temperature, so you're able to match the color of your light with like the light coming in your windows, which means you're able to utilize both natural light and this extra light. And really what it does for me is when I'm sitting in the van like this, I've got light coming in at this level, like you can see the height of the windows, but coming down from my face it's kind of dark, and so I can fill in that light with just sticking that light up in my cabinet, and it just kind of evens out the whole lighting of the scene. Alright, so I do have more gear than just this if I'm gonna get into like my drone and like all this other stuff, but really this is what I use to create content on a weekly basis. I can pretty much create everything I need to make for Instagram using my phone and my A6600. And then when it comes to YouTube and podcasting, this is everything that I need. And like I said, you could really do it with less than this, but if you're curious and excited about improving your quality or learning how to use some of this more high-end gear, I think it's really fun to do. Let me know if you have any questions at all about any of this gear or how I use it in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer. And once again, if you want to check any of it out, I've got it linked in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!